Alright, another bit of news that really kind of was like, huh? Okay. So, apparently, Sony and Marvel are in talks for getting Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, I guess I can see this. I can see that, Sony and Marvel are at least working together on some things. Now, Sony still has the movie rights to Spider-Man, but they're willing to negotiate to have Spider-Man show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, whether it be Avengers 3 or some other place. I think the reason why they're so open up to this idea is because that, Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't exactly have live up to their expectations. I think that was the big thing, was that, they didn't, even though it did make a lot of money, it did make some money, but I think they had higher expectations for Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it just didn't fill out, and now I think they're afraid of, their Spider-Man cinematic universe is not going to be up to par. I think that's what they're also afraid of, so they kind of want Spider-Man to be exposed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I'm all for. I think you can have Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and have him as just Spider-Man. Have Andrew Garfield be Spider-Man and have all the events of, at least mention some of the events of what's going on in his universe. Because, again, people have seen Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, or 3 by the time, depending on how long this takes to make this an actual thing. And I think that that's what what Sony's trying to go for is to have Spider-Man be a bigger, because again, I think even they're kind of worried that, the likes of a Sinister Six movie, a Black Cat movie, and Amazing Spider-Man 3 may not be able to live up to par with them. Be able to hold its own. I think that's the main thing, is that even though they want this universe to work, I think they still want to have, some recognition and say that, hey, maybe we do need help. Maybe we, since all we have is Spider-Man, maybe we do need help. Maybe that's what we need is help with with this universe. That's what we need. So, I think that's the main driving point of why they want to do this. Now, the big thing is, where could you put Spider-Man? I'm one of those people who's like, Spider-Man, does he really need to be an Avenger? But I'm okay with Spider-Man being an Avenger, as long as you use him and not have him be, the guy in the background doing the quips. And I think it would be cool to see Andrew Garfield work alongside, especially his Spider-Man. I really do love Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. His Peter Parker needs work, but I like him very much as Spider-Man. I think he's a better... Having said that, though, I think he's a better Spider-Man and Peter Parker than Tobey Maguire was. I still like, Spider-Man 1 and 2 is awesome, but that train wreck of a movie, Spider-Man 3, dear Lord. And, the other thing is that I think a lot of people give a lot more hate to Amazing Spider-Man 2, saying, oh, it's worse than Spider-Man 3. I tend to disagree that Amazing Spider-Man 2 does have a kind of a cohesive story, whereas Spider-Man 3 is trying to throw in every single goddamn plot line it can. And don't get me wrong, Amazing Spider-Man 2 does that, but I think they do it a little bit better. I think Mark Webb was juggling a bit more, and I think Sony... the Rhino didn't need to be any... I think the Rhino shouldn't have been like a 5-minute cameo. At least if he was, don't spoil it in the goddamn trailers. But we're not here to talk about Amazing Spider-Man 2. But, anywho, I think it's a strong possibility that, Andrew Garfield will show up as Spider-Man. But the big thing is, how do you, tie in his universe? Because, again, there's no mention of Oscorp. There's no mention of, anything. Is Spider-Man just going to show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and be like, hey, thwip, thwip, I'm out? Or is this going to be a one-shot deal? Or is Sony and... Sony and Disney and Marvel going to be able to come up with a contract saying that, hey, Sony, you guys can still do Spider-Man movies, but it's under us. It's it's in our universe. You play by our universe's rules now. Is that what it's going to be like, or is it just going to be a one and done thing? I preferably would like to see maybe Spider-Man show up in the Daredevil TV show or something along those lines. I don't know if he needs... again, it would be cool to see him, team up alongside of, Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans and everyone else on board in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it depends on where you put him. Is my big question. Is like where and how do you not make it feel forced? However, it's gonna feel. However, I think it's gonna feel forced no matter what. It is gonna feel kind of forced no matter what you do. It's gonna be like, man, Sony, you are desperate. And you could say that, yeah, maybe they are, again, because, again, I think they're just unsure that their own Spider-Man cinematic universe is not going to go well. I think that's the main, again, I say that that's going to be the main driving point behind their reasoning behind this. But who knows? Maybe Marvel can make it work, getting one of the, basically getting their icon back under them, at least for one movie. That would be it. But I'm kind of hoping maybe this will be like some, because again, I think Sony and Marvel are better on better terms with one another than Marvel and Fox. Because Marvel and Fox, man, man, especially with the whole thing that Marvel's doing is kind of childish, is canceling the Fantastic Four book before the Fantastic Four movie comes out. So, but yeah, I think with Sony they're on better terms, and maybe this will kind of show that. So yeah, not a lot else I can say, but what do you guys think? Should Spider-Man, should Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And if so, where do you think he would be? Comment below, let me know in the comments below.